Up there we are.
Oh my gosh, it came on again. And
Yep.
wow, I really do look better.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Bill Peschel.
Hi, I'm Teresa Peschel, and thank you, Mary Kay. I don't look as dead as I have been, and I want to thank my new Mary Kay lady, Megan Hine, for wow, I don't look as dead,
Yeah.
but I don't look like I'm wearing a layer of clown makeup.
Okay.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about my
We're not
my
here to
forays
talk.
into makeup.
This is not the Mary Kay channel. We're not going to be selling anything here. Although, if you want to be,
We would love it if
be an
you buy
associate.
one of our books. We would love that if you would buy some of our books.
But anyway, this is Agatha Christie They Watched, and this week we are going to be talking about the Hercule Poirot pilot that almost became
a TV series in 1962 and 63.
Yes.
This would have been Martin Gabel starring as Hercule Poirot. This is you watch this episode. This is a great rarity. I mean, nobody had ever really seen it. I think Mark Aldridge, because he is of course a mega scholar, was allowed into the vaults somewhere to see the film, and he even showed us a little bitty clip of it at the Agatha Christie Festival in Torquay in 2024. But he saw the whole episode.
Yeah.
And now, for whatever mysterious reason, it has appeared from out of someone's catacombs and available on YouTube. And I think you put the link up, and I hope it's still there.
It's still there, and a link is in description below.
And
so if you want to see it as well, it's a half-hour episode, moves really quick, and it's one that is made. They were doing it for the. Because at the end, after the episode's closing credits, there's Martin Gabel as Poirot promoting Agatha Christie.
Yes, talking about all of the books of Agatha Christie, the short stories, how she is this fantastic worldwide seller. And this is obviously a TV show that will not just work, it will succeed and make everybody simply buckets of money. And it would have been really interesting. This particular pilot is... It's a shot at an alternative world where Poirot is he was the head of the chief of police in Belgium, so like the entire country.
Maybe Brussels, maybe the entire country, who knows? They don't say.
Belgium isn't a very big country. It could be the entire country. But he has come to the US because the crimes are more interesting.
Well, he was called over by the State Department.
Yes, that's right. He was called over for the State Department, and he had met one of the somebody important in Baltimore, and now they're up in Boston. And he has it's like you can see the future waiting for you. He has this big, elaborate Rolls-Royce limousine, and in the back, you never see the chauffeur, just his back.
Well, and it's so old of a Rolls-Royce, the driver's compartment is separate from the passenger compartment.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
One of the old style cars. So it's a very, very old, may not be a Rolls, but it's definitely a limousine with space in the back for him and his toys.
And there's enough space in the back. Remember, 1962, folks. This is Buck Rogers and Dick Tracy territory. He has a big screen TV. He has a fairly large TV in his car and a car phone. I mean, people didn't get car phones until the late 80s, 1990s, and they were incredibly expensive. And the only people who got a car phone were real estate agents and contractors.
And he also had a bar in the back.
And a bar, which people
did
have.
Ice cubes.
With ice cubes.
There's ice cubes in the tray.
Yes, so he had some refrigeration, or at least an ice bucket. But, people could have bars in their car. I'm sure people started putting liquor bottles in their cars right away. As soon as you had a car, like the next day.
With a built-in bar.
But the TV set. And there's
Poirot
watching a Western with perfect reception. And he has perfect reception on his telephone. And you're thinking, and a bed. He mentioned specifically
the back seat turns into a bed.
Although I assume that he doesn't sleep there. He sleeps in nice hotels, but that's if he is on some critical mission and his chauffeur has to speed across the countryside in the night so that he is delivered fresh as a daisy, and then presumably the chauffeur gets to sleep.
Well, and then not only that, because the episode opens with a TV announcer outside the hotel, the Dorset Hotel, because apparently Poirot is going to be there. It's such big news that they have a live broadcast. So Poirot is kind of watching himself being discussed on the TV
Yes.
as his limo pulls up, and you actually see the limo pulling up on the TV in this kind of meta commentary.
It's really remarkable. And there's a big mob of people at the doorstep because, of course, he's a mega celebrity and he's solving this mega important case of this very important financier and banker, although he has been cooking the books, as it turns out. So he is a kind of a baker.
Oh, by the way, spoilers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We will always have spoilers. Sorry. Can't be helped. But anyway, Mr. Davenheim has disappeared. And his wife, who is very distraught, she's played by Nina Fox, who had she also played apparently Vera Claythorne back in like 1959. I'd have to look it up. As a very good 1 hour kinescope of And Then There Were None. Totally worth your time and trouble to find it and watch it. They did a really good job with that.
59.
But she is an example. As with the rewrite of Poirot, he's still obviously Poirot.
That is Nina from 10 Little Indians from our book, and you can see how washed out and fuzzy she looks.
She looks much better here.
She looks much better here.
They I guess they put this on film instead of videotape or whatever they did at the time.
Yeah, well, it was a live broadcast, so it's recorded on kinescope, which is an early form of videotape. And here, of course, for the Hercule Poirot show, except for some juddering of the camera movements,
it looked really good.
It looked good, especially for 62.
Yeah, it looked really good. But there's Nina Fox as Mrs. Davenheim, and she is distraught. Her husband, whom she loves, I'm very fond of my husband. She is distraught. She is upset. Her husband has vanished without a trace, and she has no idea where he went. The police can't find him.
It's 4 days later, so she's called in Hercule. So they're meeting at the hotel, his room, his suite,
which she has paid, which she is, of course, paying for him as part of his salary. She's a wealthy woman. I mean, her husband is wealthy, and that it becomes important later on. But this episode, this version of Mr. Davenheim does something that the other two do not. And this makes Mrs. Davenheim a fully fledged, fully realized woman with agency, and she is about to have the rug pulled out from underneath her. And I would guess that as soon as Poirot hears the story, he realizes immediately what's going to happen. He just has to find the corroborating details to make sure that he's correct. But at its heart, when he arrives and everybody tells him the story, he hears the single most important phrase. Important, wealthy, mega financier and banker disappears. And at the same time, the safe full of bearer bonds, cash, and high-end jewelry is stolen. And
jewelry, which he has bought for the last 2 years, because apparently
he decided his wife needed to be adorned with top quality pearls and great big honking diamonds and and sapphires and rubies, blood rubies, I think she mentioned specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But the really nice jewelry and bearer bonds are fungible. Anybody, they're like cash. You can walk into any jewelry store outside of the US and you disappear and you walk into any jewelry store or to a pawn shop and you hand over that big honkin' diamond ring or those blood rubies and they say, okay.
Yeah. Now, Poirot is meeting with Mrs. Davenheim and the police, the assistant chief of police.
Yeah, that's McManus and Detective Wright.
So they're cooperating with Poirot. His reputation is so high. Normally, police do not work with private detectives. They just simply do not. Just like they don't work with amateur detectives who run a bookstore in a quaint tourist seaside town.
Yeah, they don't do that
either. So, but in this case, they're very cooperative. This is a very early America. This does not have the cynicism of corrupt institutions to deal with, or corrupt cops, or any kind of sneering. This is all very mild-mannered, very cooperative. And of course, Poirot's told the story, and he has made a bet with them because he talks about the way that he works, the way he operates. And again, this is the pilot episode, so you have to set up Poirot as a character.
And it was kind of weird because they made such a big deal of Mrs. Davenheim hiring him.
Yeah.
And I think this is a flaw in the episode. It's not a flaw in the Japanese version or the David Suchet version, because in those, Mrs. Davenheim come onto the screen. She's what she is described in the short story, which is a pleasant woman, but not that intelligent, and really kind of a background character. That's what she is. And so it makes sense that Poirot has the story brought to him by Jap. It comes up in the newspaper and they're discussing it. And he says, yeah, I can solve this problem. I can be the old man in the corner. And it wasn't until this morning that I realized when I was rereading my review of the Japanese version that Agatha was using Baroness Orcazy's idea of the old man in the corner.
Which is a character. That's all he's known. That's his name.
Yeah,
the old man in the corner. He sits in a restaurant, cafe?
A cafe. He sits at a cafe at his table, and the ingenue reporter, the girl reporter, brings him the facts, and he tells her what happened. And Rex Stout developed an entire detective series based around a detective who sits there in his office, and he has people to do his legwork, but you bring him the facts and Nero Wolfe will tell you what happened. And that is what Poirot is doing here. You bring him the facts and that is what will happen. And it's really kind of weird. I have a terrible cold today, so my nose is just running like a faucet. But here, they made a point of Mrs. Davenheim hiring him. And it was really kind of awkward to watch Poirot, make a bet with the police commissioner and with Detective Wright in front of his client to say, yeah, I can find this man without ever leaving the confines of this plush hotel room, that this bereaved wife, this fearful, frightened, distraught wife. My husband is missing. Oh my God, what has happened? My husband is missing, and I can do this on her dime without ever leaving the suite. And it's really,
and that's not even the worst behavior yet.
Oh no, because as Poirot is fed more details, he looks at Mrs. Davenheim and he tells her, Madam, I will find your husband. I may find his dead body. And if I don't find his dead body, you will wish he had died. And that's
and she's
really
sitting there, her
callous.
face crumpling in emotion. But this is part, as we had talked about it earlier, there's a need to have. See, there's the difference between adapting the short story, which is what this is based on, a short story, and you're adapting it for television.
Either.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of action, but I could see that the scriptwriter was saying we need to have women involved in this story. They have to be emotionally involved in this story, because otherwise it's just Poirot and the two guy cops telling each other's story and him
telling each other
it.
facts
so
and him solving it.
They enlarged the story for Nina. And let's face it, if you're hiring someone, and apparently Nina Foch was a big actress in the day, and I talked about this before, when you hire Timothy Dalton to play
Major Trevelyan in the Sittaford mystery, you don't kill him off in the first scene of the first act, which is what happens to the character in the novel. Instead, you completely rewrite the novel.
You build this big backstory
different.
And have him become this archaeologist and candidate for prime minister and this major politician, this major public figure.
Oh yeah, when we get finally to as we move forward with the Agatha Christie's, the Sittaford mystery is coming up in our future, and we are going to have to rewatch that train wreck.
Oh, it's going to be, but it's a fun train wreck. It really
God.
is. Inserting Miss Marple in it as well, right?
Yes, Miss Marple is in. Yes, Miss Marple is in there, and she disappears for long periods of time. But anyway, getting back to Mr. Davenheim, the three versions, and now I can say I've seen all three, they are actually quite different in how they handle a very static plot.
Right.
Where really nothing much happens except that Jap and Hastings discuss the newspaper report and police reports with Poirot. But so in the David Suchet version, you get who is it? Let me bring him up. In the David Suchet version, you get Hastings racing motor cars, vintage Bugattis. Very nice. Very, very nice. With Mr. Lowen, who becomes an incredibly important character. They have to flesh it out to 55 minutes.
Right.
The Japanese version,
which is the animated version, by the way, so
yes,
it involves a duck.
Yes, it involves Maybelle and the girl apprentice and her duck, and they squeeze into 25 minutes virtually every single moment of the plot. Although because they have the duck is the one who finds the garments in the lake. The duck finds this, not the army of policemen searching all around the lake. And so here, once you have the space age Poirot with his car TV and his car bar and his car phone, arriving in town like a really highly paid gunslinger, and then deciding to sit in the hotel room on a bet like the old man in the corner, you have to do something. And so you bring on Nina Fox. I really am unsure how to pronounce her name.
It's Foch.
And she has a really big role. She's
the emotional core of the story, really. She's where you feel for her.
And one of the really great things about adapting a short story like this is scriptwriters will bring out different emphases. They will bring out different parts of the story. And so this story becomes Mrs. Davenheim. She is a woman who loved her husband. She lived a very comfortable lifestyle as the wife of a rich, important financier and banker. And when her husband disappears, she is distraught. She is devastated. Oh my God. What if they're going to start sending me body parts in the mail? And the police are like, no, we haven't received any ransom notes. So I don't think he's been kidnapped. Probably not kidnapping. But, where is he? Oh my God, he could be dead. My husband. I would be devastated if you disappeared like that. So don't.
Took my money with me. Yeah.
Took all my money. And then Poirot's comment to Mrs. Davenheim, and she discusses, of course my husband loves me. No, he's not having an affair. I love my husband. They don't use the words affair and adultery. They kind of hint at it in the David Suchet version. And of course they don't go there at all in the Japanese one, but
he spent the month in South America.
Yes, he spent
2 years ago, was it?
Yeah, like the previous season. I get my dates mixed up, but anyway, he had been gone in South America or South Africa. It depends on which version you're looking at. And I always wondered who wrote the letters when he was in South Africa, who posted them. But I guess you have mail forwarding services in South America, and but she's really upset. And this is the first time you see Mrs. Davenheim herself. I just can't understand it as the driving force behind hiring Poirot. And then he does his, I'll just stay in the this plush suite that you got for me. And then he tells her, I'll find your husband and he will either be dead or you will wish he was dead. And you're thinking, and she looks devastated. And then Poirot is able to figure out, because Mr. Davenheim overreached himself with his cleverness of his plot, because he decided he needed to have a villain, and that meant Mr. Lowen, who was someone who had gotten who had defeated him in one or two speculations, which does not make. You have to recognize that Mr. Davenheim would dislike Mr. Lowen for making a fool of him in the markets, but Mr. Lowen wouldn't dislike Mr. Davenheim because Mr. Lowen was a success for fooling Davenheim in the markets. But they make a point of having Davenheim here makes a point of doing something stupid to draw attention to his new persona, because if he would have just gotten drunk and gotten himself arrested, no one would have ever known. And so instead, Poirot realizes when he hears the story about the signet ring, the diamond ring.
Yeah, the guy was found with the ring belonging to Mr. Davenheim, which instantly brings him into the case. And even though, and we're going to be telling you the spoilers, that Billy Kellett, who is the suspect's name, is Mr. Davenheim in disguise. So you see a before picture of him, and then you see this guy who is bald and muddy faced and just, doesn't look like Mr. Davenheim is
Yes, he does not look at all like Mr. Davenheim. And
So
as soon as Poirot hears that Mr. and Mrs. Davenheim, since his return from South America, have not been sharing a bedroom, he knows.
with his wife,
Yeah, he has not. They have not been sharing a bedroom. He knows that that's Davenheim is doing something that he doesn't want his wife to see, something that would perhaps allow him to disappear and disguise himself.
Well, he had shaved his hair, and he's wearing a wig in bed. He doesn't have his own hair as well. So the plot suddenly becomes a little more elaborate, which is why he ends up not sharing a bed with his wife anymore, because his wife is just going to say, "Oh, hi, darling," and who are you?
Oh, yes, this is your real hair.
This is,
This
is not a rug. I am not a member of Hair Club for Men. This is my own hair.
That is your own hair. Yes, this is his own hair.
You think I would pay money for this?
And then, you see Kellett in, looking disheveled and
looking like a bum.
Except that he needed more of a 5 o'clock shadow to look like a bum.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Davenheim recognizes him.
Yeah.
This is her husband, and she is just destroyed because I have to go back because she has another big scene when they discover that the police discover what Poirot already knows, which is that the bank has collapsed.
Right.
Because
Poirot predicts it as well.
Yeah, Poirot predicts the bank will collapse because of financial mismanagement, embezzlement, and theft. And Mrs. Davenheim shows up in the suite, and she is just devastated all over again. She is penniless. She is broke. The auditor showed up at her house and started impounding everything. Basically, she has the clothes on her back because everything was in her husband's name.
Mm-hmm.
She has nothing.
Yep.
She has to fall back on the kindness of strangers, and she is just absolutely devastated, and she has no idea what's going on, and her husband is still missing. And then she discovers,
and then Poirot takes her down
to the police
station and confronts the couple.
And the actor playing both Mr. Davenheim in the photographs and Billy Kellett in the actual episode, he never says a word. He just stares at her.
Yep.
And she is the one, it's like, you did this to me. You screwed me over. You destroyed me. I loved you. I gave, you were my whole life. And
again, this is economical storytelling because, frankly, what else can he say? Like, of course I did, and I'm glad I did, or
I'm sorry, dear,
or I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter.
He didn't care about her.
Right.
He didn't care about her, and he didn't expect to ever be confronted by her, would be my guess, is what the scriptwriter was trying to show economically. He didn't care.
Right.
And he didn't care what it did to her. He didn't care what it did to anybody. He didn't care what it did to the bank's clients who are now all broke. He didn't care.
Yeah. And this is where you see in a TV adaptation how they have to keep your attention. And they do it by having Nina with her emotional scenes. There's even a sequence in the middle where Poirot is studying papers. And let's face it, looking at, it's like sitting here, watching me read. And, that's not going to be very interesting. So when they have Poirot with his monocle, and of course they do really big close-ups of him examining papers, and the music is dramatic, and sometimes they
did some really nice camera work. They did some, you were commenting about the camera work.
Well, when they were discussing the case and Poirot is discussing it with them, they do a moving camera 180 degrees around him as he's explaining dead ahead, and then there's a little break, and then the camera goes back, and it's so obvious a bit of camera work, but it keeps your attention. And if you remember a Coen Brothers movie, like Blood Simple, where the camera is an actual participant in the scene itself, that's sort of what they were doing back in 1962. This director had to do something to keep people's attention.
And what was so, this really could have been an interesting TV series. I think Martin Gabel could have done a very credible job as
He was a credible Poirot.
Yeah, he was a credible Poirot. And the very next Poirot that people saw was, of course, Tony Randall in the Alphabet Murders. And what a piece of crap that was.
Although he was good at it, though. He would have made a good serious Poirot.
He would have made a good Poirot, but he was completely hamstrung by a jokey, fun, wink, script. jokey, fun, wink, wink sex comedies. And that's not the director you need
You can see
for
why
the alphabet murders. And
they
no
told-
wonder she was livid.
Yeah, well, they told Agatha, "Don't see this. If you thought Margaret Rutherford was not that good, you're going to be
Oh my God.
you're going to be melting in the seat
Oh
over
my God.
over this." And
so this Martin Gabel could have done it. And they actually mention when he is after the case has been solved, and Martin Gabel in character as Poirot speaking to
decision makers at the
the
studio,
decision makers
essentially.
at the studio, to say, yes, you really should be doing a Pro TV series because it will be successful, because people love Agatha Christie, because this is so wonderful, this is so amazing. And he mentions specific cases like the Veiled Lady and a sort of kind of a veiled reference. Mark Aldrich says it is
To Peril at End House.
the Peril at End House, and that might even be correct.
Yeah.
We don't know. But there's this setup that he's going to Palm Beach. The last scene in the episode, it's proper. He's going to go to Palm Beach and investigate 3 bodies, which means his chauffeur is going to drive him from Boston all the way to Palm Beach, Florida. It was like 4 days.
Well, that's what the bed in the back is for. He's just going to DOS down, and it sounds cool, especially if you're 14. But when you've been on the road and you realize
this is the purpose of nice hotels.
Here's the reason why there's nice hotels. You don't want to sleep in the back seat of your car. It's going to start smelling really funky. And Poirot is not
nice.
about the funk.
He's not about that. No, they will stay in nice hotels. The chauffeur will stay wherever the chauffeurs stay, and he will get the nice suite, and then they will and have a civilized breakfast, and then hit the road. But this could have been really interesting. Just like this would have been kind of like early 60s David Suchet's Poirot. They could have done all of the stories. They could have rewritten them radically.
Well, that's just
we don't know.
But they would have. I mean,
yeah, they would have done some serious
Mark
rewriting.
Aldrich had talked about some of the possibilities in the various scripts, and it sounds like they would have done whatever they felt. Well, this is also part.
Yeah,
Agatha Christie on screen, very well worth getting.
And then the later book, when he wrote Agatha Christie on screen, he hadn't seen the episode. But by the time he got to Agatha Christie's Poirot, he had managed to pull enough strings to see the episode.
Oh, okay. So he discusses it in this book as well.
I read through both sections, and he had seen it in the second one, and it was just it really could have been interesting.
But
they didn't.
Would it have really helped Agatha? Because and the reason why, from reading this book, this was part of the deal she signed with MGM in the UK, and essentially it gave them worldwide rights to do whatever they wanted to do with Poirot.
She never signed a contract like that again.
Yeah, she learned.
She learned from
it, because that resulted in the four Margaret Rutherfords.
4 Margaret Rutherfords and a cameo in the Tony
Alphabet
Randall
Murders.
one.
And this TV series as well.
But this was after the first Margaret Rutherford film, which was 1961.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But it was obviously...
Poirot had not appeared since Austin Trevor in the movies. He hasn't appeared at all. So this would have been like America's first introduction to Hercule Poirot. And would it have helped her?
I am pretty sure that this would have been his first appearance. And yes, I would say it would have helped her, because you have, based on the novels of Agatha Christie as the opening title card for millions of people. Because remember, for every person who reads, you can safely assume 100 people go to the movies and 1,000 people watch TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would have.
But she did not.
But she did not. By that time, she was already. She
didn't even want Poirot on the cover, because I think he appeared on the cover of the first book collection. They did a photo of an actor posing as Poirot, and she disliked that. And that's why when she wrote the plays,
she removed him.
She always removed Poirot. She didn't want to affect how people saw Poirot on the written page.
But it was just... but still, I look at that and think this could have been really interesting. Mm-hmm. Just like with when Angela Lansbury made The Mirror Cracked, and the movie studio, even though the movie didn't do that well, they were so pleased with Angela Lansbury as Miss Marple that they wanted to do a Miss Marple TV show. Mm-hmm. And by the way, we'll just write our own stories. We don't need to use yours. And the Christie estate was like, no. Are you nuts? And as a result, we got
Murder,
She Wrote with Jessica Fletcher. So if you've ever wondered about that, that's exactly why.
It was actually that, and it actually worked better in a way because then they could do whatever they want with Miss Marple. Instead of doing Miss Marple, they just had, let's have a mystery writer solving mysteries, and it ended up being a success. Ran
very
10
very
seasons,
successful,
several movies as well.
Yep, and people even today still watch Jessica Fletcher and in
Murder, She Wrote. There's even a Murder, She Wrote convention of all things.
Really?
Yeah,
goodness.
we talked about that. I don't know if they still do that, but I think they probably still do.
But it was just
so this was a what if episode.
This is very much
what would have happened.
What if episode. It could have been at least interesting because they weren't turning Poirot into a jokey character like Tony Randall in The Alphabet Murders, which is truly painful to watch at times. Beautiful cinematography, and I actually have learned about that since we started the project. Beautifully shot, beautifully filmed, and the camera never misses a chance to go down some young lady's cleavage.
Not a bad thing.
That depends.
You got to see Robert Morley in a towel.
I don't want to see Robert Morley in a towel. I want to see Aidan Turner in a towel. There is a difference,
True.
But this would have, despite the space age Jetson trappings of, the car TV and the car phone and the car bed and all that other stuff, and it still would have been, they took the character much more seriously. Yep. They took Poirot seriously as a person who is this genius, who thinks outside the box, who is capable of seeing what other people don't see, who it really could have been interesting.
Yep.
And the pilot wasn't
picked up. It was a missed opportunity. Yeah, it wasn't picked up, and it
only aired
vanished.
The one time. It aired once in 1962 because, after all, it was filmed and
it was part of a General Electric theater. It was an episode there so they took the pilot and at least got their money back out of it that they put into it by broadcasting it. And then it vanished into the archives until literally this past year when it resurfaced on YouTube.
I have no idea why it resurfaced on YouTube, because maybe some of the other Agatha Christie TV shows will resurface on YouTube.
Oh, I hope so.
We can hope.
Well, that's the one positive side is that we didn't have to watch 8 or 12 or 20 more episodes for this book.
We just wouldn't have put any of the internationals in there. That's what would have happened. We wouldn't have put any internationals.
Yeah. So, but this is pretty much everything we need. So what are we going to watch next time?
Okay. Next week, we are going to watch the David Suchet Murder on the Links. And if you want to hand me the Murder on the Links book, which I know we have back there somewhere.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
Here we go.
As you see, we're well prepared for this.
You're well prepared for this.
We published a version of Murder on the Links.
And it is the second Poirot novel. By the time Agatha wrote this, she had written, obviously, Styles, and she had written a number of Poirot short stories, and she was really getting tired of Captain Arthur Hastings. And so in Murder on the Links, among all the other transitional things that she's doing with Poirot, she managed to get him married off. And there's a lot to like about the David Suchet episode, and there is a lot that you will be throwing your popcorn at the screen and saying, no. But it's widely available. Your library will have a copy. The one after that will be the Les Petits version of Murder on the Links. And
I think
it's always stylish to look at, but oh my God.
Yeah, it might be available on Amazon Prime, probably the MHZ Choice channel. When I find out, I'll put it in next week we'll put it in the links.
I thought we got that one from a library DVD box
we
set.
Probably, yeah. Well, we did as well, but it's really hard, really weird to find the right version that has the English subtitles.
Yeah, a lot of the Les Petits episodes we got on big box sets through the interlibrary loan, because a major metropolitan library will buy things that your little,
or a college library.
Yeah, college library, whereas your town of 25,000 people your library is not going to spend money on French TV detective series. They just aren't.
Yeah.
But that's the next 2 weeks, and then we will move, and we are going to do, I think at this point, so David
we just need
Suchet will
next
be on the
week.
19th, and probably the 26th, the day before Thanksgiving, we'll do Les Petites.
Mhm.
It'll spoil everyone's appetite for turkey, so we won't eat too much.
Well,
Or
you'll think this is so much of a turkey, you'll just fill up on it.
anything to recover from it.
Right. All
But
right.
Les Petites is no, sorry. Lynx is an interesting novel to read, and it is based on a real story, and I'll tell you about it next time.
Right.
And so I don't think we have anything else to say. So
Yeah.
thanks again for joining us.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll see you next week. Okay.
Mwah.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.